many games y'all gonna win this fall?
Is the pertinent question for the NC State Wolf Pack. 9 wins last year. Came so close to getting that 10th if they could have gotten the job done against Avery Johnson and Kansas State in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But of course, RIP Frosted Strawberry, yada, yada. Over under of 8.5 wins for the Wolfpack, over at -134, under at +110. Bud, where do you start with the Wolfpack, a team that has taken a lot of transfer portal talent, retained some players as well, but still some notable exits, especially on the defensive side of the ball?
I'm not kidding about this. I am 48.5% under, 51.5% over. So if you give me the +110, I'll take it. That's like a very, very slight edge. I think to bet over, you need to be thinking that they are more than a touchdown favorite at Georgia Tech, at Cal, and at UNC. Like that's the sort of number that I would need to push them over, and I'm just not quite there. I think the defense will still be good. I don't know if it has quite the same caliber of players at all of the spots that it had last year. And we're really banking on all of these pieces they brought in being as good as NC State fans hope they are. And I think there's some of them will. Like, I really like the tight end they got from UConn, Jolly or Joe.
Hey,
he was pretty good last year.
He's somebody else to put on your radar for an EA Sports thing. He put his gamer tag out there. He said, anytime, anywhere, you can come get it. So we need to ask him if he wants to do a bye week hangout.
So I'm slightly under here, but it's not something I would bet because I just don't have an edge there.
All Dave Dorn does is cash overs. Give me the over. I think this might be the third year in a row I've taken them, like in our locks pod for the win totals. I think I've been on them. I don't know what the record is on that one. Maybe it's 1-1 or maybe hopefully 2-1. I like this team a lot. I do think losing Peyton Wilson is going to be a huge gap to fill. That was one of the best, defensive players in the country. But I guess I'm buying in, which I'm scarred from last year, buying into Brendan Armstrong because I thought that would work with Robert and those two coming back together. But I do feel more confident in Grayson McCall, the totality, the body of work, which we saw not last season where he was without Jamie Chadwell, but more of the consistency we saw his first 4 years at Coastal Carolina, where he was consistently, one of the better, quality quarterbacks, taking care of the football, efficiency. I think his receiving core might be one of the better receiving cores in the ACC, at least towards the top tier. Casey Concepcion is back. They hit the portal for Noah Rogers. They bring in the running back from Duke that adds some depth to the backfield there. So I feel pretty good about the offense kind of to put up points. And then again, it kind of goes back to Dave Dorn. Physical team. They're usually always there, where I just trust that the defense is going to be pretty solid and be able to get through some of those tight, one possession games. So I like the over.
They also have a backup running back named Hollywood Smothers, which is just a wonderful name for a football player. I'm slightly under here. It's my belief in this team is mostly on the coaching staff and the defense, and I think that is going to give them a very high floor as to what they accomplish. My concerns are the offensive side of the ball, where I agree they have good receivers, but I'm not that high on Grayson McCall. I think that for him, his game, not just the Jamie Chadwell aspect as a play caller, he's a big kid. He's like, 6'3", 220 pounds. And that worked really well in the Sun Belt because he was able to just kind of run around, and he was bigger than a lot of the linebackers who were chasing him. That's not really going to be the case anymore. And I think that's going to take away a part of his game that was really to his benefit at Coastal. And we also saw him get banged up and miss half the season last year. So I do have some concerns about his ability to withstand a full season as a starting QB. And if he misses some time, I don't know how I don't know much about like CJ Bailey, the freshman that's behind him. So I can't really speak on whether he's a really good replacement or if he'd be ready to help them in some big games. And the fact that most of their bigger games seem to be on the road is a concern for me. So yeah, I think 8-4, a little more likely than 9-3.
Over.
Yeah, of course you are. You're the biggest Wolfpack fan on earth.
Casey Concepcion was on the ACC network set as they were doing their tour of all the different campuses, and he has he's talking big about this offense, and he started rolling down. Because so Hollywood Smothers came from Oklahoma. Hollywood Smothers is a shifty, speedy guy. They've been running him out in return as a return specialist as well. We remember Jordan Waters at Duke, and one of the things we always talked about, the way that Duke offense was constructed, is we said like the pieces fit well together, right? Like there wasn't a downhill running back, but it was, you could kind of figure out ways to put players in space. Justin Jolly, you mentioned coming over from UConn, really big-bodied, skilled tight end. Noah Rogers, aka the Hardee's brand, Jameson Williams. You can't get on the field at Ohio State, but that doesn't mean that you're not a superstar at the college level. Like I think, and again, KC was just talking it up, as you're going to do. But I just think that they look around the room and they feel like there is more talent at the skill positions than they have had in a couple of years. And I think that's going to be something that is really, really exciting for NC State. That you mentioned, you've got to have them as a touchdown or so favorite. I'm going to give them Georgia Tech. I will not give them at Cal. It's yet another spot where I'm like, I don't know, man. Like if I was NC State's question as they go into the 2024 season with this roster and this schedule is you either is or you ain't. Like they have been knocking on the door, like 8 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins. They've had one 10-win season. It was back in 2002. Like this is the year for the breakthrough for NC State to do it. Now I've got them at 9-3 for the regular season, losing to Tennessee, losing to Clemson, and then losing one more game on the road, either at Cal or at North Carolina. So I am over here. And before we keep it moving, Bud, you mentioned the Miami alternate way to play this. NC State might be another one where maybe you take, like my buddy Josh Goodson was mentioning this, maybe you do an ACC title future for NC State, where if they are going over, then they probably have a 7-1 record and they might have a chance to be able to make it to Charlotte. Maybe you do a playoff. Like this is an NC State team with a 2-game season when it comes to the college football playoff. Maybe there's a little bit more juice if you think that they can go and get a win against Tennessee or get a win against Clemson, which is what you would need, I think, for the Wolfpack to make the playoff.
I agree with that. I mean, it's the only problem with that is that like this is probably like the biggest like summer betting darling in the market. Like everybody's betting NC State. I feel like those conference and playoff odds really got hit
already.
I think the logic is good, but I feel like that was getting hit in like May just because people saw the schedule.
All right.
Count them out.